Finally, the younger brother comes out. He gets on his horse, and he takes the same path that his brothers do. And he came across the man with the goat. And the man with the goat says, I can't milk my goat anymore. Can you help me with this? So the prince said, well, it's not really what I'm out for, but sure, why not? He gets and he milks the goat. And as he's milking the goat, he looks up, the old man is gone. He's like, what am I going to do with this goat now? And he goes, oh, I guess I'll take it with me. So he ties it to the horse and he walks with the horse and the goat. And he comes across a woman with a crying baby. She goes, do you have something that I can to feed my baby? He goes, well, I do have this goat that I just milked, and I got milk. So, yeah, sure. So the woman hands the baby, and he starts, and he feeds it. And he looks up, the woman's gone. He goes, well, wait, now I have a baby and a goat. What am I going to do? Then he goes forward, and he keeps on the path. And he sees the old man with the axe. And the old man with the axe says, my job is in jeopardy. I can't lift my axe anymore. Can you help me? And the man says, sure, I'll help you. And he was given a place to live. They found a hut. The old man had his hut, so then he moved in with the baby and the goat, and they lived there for years, happy. Well, one day, he and the little baby grew up to a fine little boy, and one day the young prince just threw the axe on his shoulders and went out for a hunt. He'd heard there were wolves in the neighborhood, and he just made a step into another story that we should all be familiar with. So, humility. We look past things and we see things. We see people for what we want to see them as. Luke chapter 14. Another story. On one occasion, when Jesus was going to the house of a leader of the Pharisees to eat a meal on the Sabbath, they were watching him closely. Verse 7. When he noticed how the guests chose places of honor, he told them a parable. When you are invited by someone to a wedding banquet, do not sit down at the place of honor in case someone more distinguished than you has been invited by your host. And the host who invited both of you may come to say to you, give this person your place. And then in disgrace, you would start to take the lowest place. But when you are invited, go and sit down at the lowest place. So when your host comes, that he may say to you, friend, move up higher. Then you will be honored in the presence of all who sit at the table with you. For all who exalt themselves will be humbled, and those who humble themselves will be exalted. And he said also to the one who had invited him, when you give a luncheon or a dinner, do not invite your friends or your brothers or your relatives or rich neighbors, in case they may invite you in return and you would be repaid. But when you give a banquet, invite the poor, crippled, and lame, the blind, and you will be blessed, because they cannot repay you, for you will be repaid with righteousness at the resurrection. How do we treat people? How do we deal with people? A lot of times we don't give people the time of day because they're not the type of people we want to know. They're not the type of folks that we want to see, be associated with. We want to talk to, the ones that smell bad. The ones that are in the rough crowds. The ones that if the church members caught us talking to them, what do they say? Jesus tells us the story of this party that we only want, and I see the relevance in it. I see the truth in it. Where I see people do this. We only treat people nice who treat us nice, right? We only want to invite the people to the party because they're going to invite us to their parties. All right? Oh, you know it's true. What can, maybe not you, not anybody in this room, I'm sure nobody's ever done that. But for an example, I remember when I was living in South Carolina, we would have, everybody would move eventually. And we would have moving parties. And you would move somebody because you know that in a year you're going to move too, and you're going to need people to move you. So you would help them move in a sense that they're going to help you move. That doesn't work when you move somebody to Atlanta and you're still 2 hours away. They're not going to come back to help you. But it's a motivation. Why do you do the things that you do? Why do you help the people you help? Are they going to help you? The story of the axe cutter, the wood cutter, axe cutter. He doesn't cut axes. He cuts wood with an axe. The story of the woodcutter. We hear that story and we see the brothers as they pass by people who can't help them on their mission, or they think they can't help them on their mission. So they leave them hurting and alone, crying out for help. Two brothers do this. They can't help me. I'm not going to help them. God helps those who help themselves. Have you ever heard that? Have you ever said that?
Not anymore.
According to the Bible I'm reading, according to all the stories that I've ever read, is God helps the helpless, those who can't do anything for themselves. Because he said to them, when you have a dinner, invite those who can't pay you back. Do something for somebody who won't be able to pay you back. And no, I don't mean to have a beat-up session on this today. I really don't intend that.